how good is it to be back home? And you basically you're living your life over in Europe now. What's it like coming back home?
Dude, honestly, I love it here. Like, obviously, like, I enjoy my time over in Europe and over in the UK, but, like, coming home, like, home, no, it's good. It's good.
And you don't get much time at home, though, do you?
No, not really. I'm only back here for about 14 days. Yeah, quick. It's quick. It's quick, but I have to come back here because one of the original reasons why I came back here was because I need to do a license, because when I went into F3, obviously I had a British license, so I'm British.
Yep.
And literally everyone in, like, from Instagram comments to, like, stuff like that is like, he's not British, so I need an Australian license, like, desperately.
So for those people back home who are like, who the hell are you? So you're a race car driver. You race over in Europe. You're trying to get into Formula One. You're now in Formula 3. So the whole time you've been overseas, you've been racing as a British citizen. Is that right?
Well, yeah, because with F3, it's what license you have that's your nationality.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they put on the side of the car. So there's kids who, during, like, COVID and lockdown, their countries couldn't supply them licenses because of lack of funding. So you get, like, just to pluck a nation, like, you get a German kid who's now French and something like something stupid like that. And obviously because of the like the Russian athletes, they all had to go get different licenses. So my teammate this year was actually Russian, Vladislav Lonko. He's French now. Just because he got a French license and now he's French. So
wow.
the stuff like that, it's crazy. And I think that was one of the things that they really, like, nailed in on, because it was a big thing, because I was like, oh yeah, just write down Australian. But they're like, your license is British. But yeah, I'm Australian. I just have a British license because I've been living in the UK, because it's ideal to get one over there instead of coming back over to here, doing because you can only get the medical done over here. Like, right. you can't get them. That's why I haven't bothered until now.
You've got to come home.
You've got to come home to get the medical. And I've given blood this morning. This is today. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So I did my bloods. I did the photo shoot for the Newcastle Herald.
Yep.
And then I've come here.
Wow. So it's been quite a day for you.
Oh yeah, but I don't mind. It's pretty cool.
You race cars for a living, like.
Oh yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah. Let me just I don't know whether I can you hear me properly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I just feel like this. So this is first.
This is first go. This is first go.
First go. Yeah. So let's just make sure.
We need the sound box check.
I'm going to make sure I'm talking into this. Okay.
Oh, you're nice and loud now.
That sounds better.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Viewers at home, please be.
I might try and edit that out. See, this is what happens when you do a one-man.
This is what happens when it's a one-man episode and a one-man ship. Yeah. So do we have to clap again?
No, I think we'll be right. I think this is all part of the podcast.
This is great content in itself.
Exactly.
This is what the people want to see.
So let's step back a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're a boy from the Hunter.
Yeah.
You're 17 years old now.
Yeah. 18 in February.
18.
God.
18. Yeah, you're about to be
so old.
Yeah, you're about to become old.
So ancient.
And so about the whole thing about this podcast is to work out how people like you get to where they are. So let's step back to right back when your childhood.
Right.
Where did you grow up? And what was the stuff you liked doing?
Right, so I was born in, obviously, Australia, but I was born in John Hunter. Yep. So I'm always going to be a Newey kid, and I always will say I'm a Newey kid. Grew up in New Lambton.
Yeah.
Moved to Maitland when I was about 9, and that's when I bought my first go-kart. Well, I say Dad bought my first go-kart. And it was off eBay. I literally bought the car off eBay. And that's how it all started.
So how did it get to the karting part? How was it you just going, you're watching something on TV and you're like, I want to do that?
It's way better than that.
How did it all happen?
So I tried every single other sport leading up. So I tried soccer, terrible, not a good team player. Hogged the ball. And when I hogged the ball, I was just terrible. So I'd get mad that no one would pass me the ball. And when they did, I would just be terrible. So
You'd hog it and not do well.
just scrapped that to the side.
Yep.
And then did tennis.
Yep.
I was actually not bad. Like,
Yeah.
I actually really liked tennis. And then that just kind of just
Fell away.
fell away. And then obviously Dad, because he was a basketball player. My brother used to be a basketball player, a really good basketball player, actually.
Yeah, right.
He went to like state and all the like proper stuff.
So basketball was meant to be the thing.
Basketball was meant to be the thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, Dad was like, do you want to try basketball? And I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'll give that a go. Literally like first ever lesson, like one training session and done. Like I just was not cut out for that.
So out of all the sports, you had to go at soccer, you had to go at tennis, and then basketball was meant to be the one.
Meant to be the one.
And you just knew from day dot that
I was just
basketball
like, I
was not the
can't
thing.
do this.
So yeah, so how the hell does it get to? How the hell do you get to karts?
At a basketball stadium.
Yeah, right.
I got into karting at a basketball stadium.
So
I'm watching my brother play, right?
yeah.
I'm bored out of my mind. And at where this basketball stadium was, on the opposite end of it, there's a hire kart track.
Oh yeah, go
beside
karts
it.
go.
Go karts go, yeah. So I'm bored out of my mind, and Dad's like, do you just want to like go and do this like go-karting thing? Because Dad used to do go-karts.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Me and my brother are split down the middle of my dad, sporting wides.
Yeah.
Josh is a basketball player. I'm a race car driver. Dad was a race car driver. He was a basketball player as well.
Yeah,
so
right.
we're split down the middle. And anyway, I'm like, yeah, I got nothing better to do. So I go that, and honestly, it was like the coolest thing. And they're like little hire carts, so they're not fast. But like, I'm like, again. And it's like, no, we have to go back. Your brother's just finished. It's like, no, I want to go again. So went back a second time, felt the exact same way about it, and like still was like, yeah, I love this. Like this is like so cool. Like,
Yeah.
Do I keep doing this? And I was like, no.
How can I just continually do hire
Yeah, like
karts?
how can I continuously just do hire carts? And Dad was like, oh no, like you can do it professionally, and like, you know, you get a go-kart, like a proper go-kart, you go to like proper tracks and, you know, all over Australia. And I was like, let's do that.
Yeah, dream
Let's give
come
that a
true.
go. And obviously it was a big thing because like karting and motorsport isn't like cheap in general.
No.
So it was just like, hey buddy, if we're gonna like go down this route, like I'll really need you to commit.
Yeah, it can't be just like
you
basketball.
can't half-ass it. And obviously now we're in this mess.
So can you believe, like, you look at it now, you're like, it is one day you're at a basketball stadium, you're hating life, you go to go-karts go,
And then just
and your life changes forever, basically, from that day.
no, absolutely. That's like the perfect way of doing it. It literally, because obviously I would not be here if there wasn't a go-karts go there,
Yeah, wow.
which is mental. It's crazy.
So if Newcastle, like, just imagine if, say, Newcastle didn't have a go-karts, like a
Yeah.
go-karts high track,
Yeah.
you may have never have got into the sport.
Maybe not. I just would have probably watched it and enjoyed it because I always liked cars in general, like just road cars and race cars, but like never enough to kind of be like, oh, I might do that. But like it was only through Dad's recommendation of like, hey, dude, do you want to do this? I was actually like, well, yeah, okay, that never thought of that. Why not?
So basically, your dad's just like, I want to find you something, like a sport or something to go and...
Because the thing is when I was a kid, I wasn't particularly big. So I used to like struggle with a little bit of bullying in school. So I wasn't like the popular guy.
Yeah.
And so we were desperately, and I love my parents for this. They really did a good job. Like they needed me to find something to do instead of just sitting in my room playing video games, doing nothing.
Yeah.
So once we kind of found a sport, it was just like, finally,
Yeah.
we've got him. We're in.
We've found something.
We found something to keep him occupied.
So how old were you then?
9
years old.
9 years old, and I weighed like 30 something kilos.
Wow. So do you remember what that first lap was like around
Yeah, I
Go-Karts
cried.
Go? Yeah, you cried.
I cried.
Yeah.
I cried the first ever time I got into like a genuine like go-kart sitting on the grid. I cried. I bawled my eyes out.
So how did you go though? Like after you tried to wipe the tears away, then
Literally like in the helmet, like the visor's like that big, and I'm like trying to like wipe these like tears, and Dad just like, buddy, you'll be fine. Like once you go out there, you'll be fine.
So are these happy tears or are these like
No,
I'm
terrified
tears?
I was terrified because like he's like, yeah, these aren't like the regular hire cars because they have no side bumpers on them and they're fast. But actually, no, you can do 80 kilometers an hour at 9 years old.
They're still pretty fast.
That's fast.
Yeah.
But and anyway, like he was telling me that, and obviously walking to the pre-grid, I was like, oh, this is gonna be so cool. Like I love speed and like blah blah blah. Got on the grid, just bawled my eyes out. Just couldn't just comprehend what was going on. And Dad was like, dude, like trust me, like when you go out, like it will literally all disappear. Like I am positive. Lo and behold, he was right. And
yeah, so like did it just like as soon as the race started, it felt like this is what like you just got into the groove.
I just got into the groove, and let's go. Mum brought coffee. Thank you, and love you. But yeah, once I went out that first time, literally just everything just was so just nice.
You just felt comfortable.
It just felt good.
Yeah.
That was what I wanted to do.
And so from then on, you're 9 years old. You're now karting. Did you feel like you felt like you found your happy place?
I did, because I made some lifelong friends that I still talk to this day from that karting paddock.
Wow.
So like to look back on it and see myself here at literally the birthplace of every single Formula One driver in F3. That's where we all come through. Like it just, yeah, it's crazy.
It's a pinch yourself moment, really.
No, absolutely.
And like the whole premise of this podcast is basically to go, you're just someone from Newcastle. I'm
a regular dude.
Yeah, you're not from Sydney. You're not from Melbourne. You're not from the big cities.
No, I'm a regular dude. Like
you're taking on the world.
Pretty much. And that, I think it's very valuable for people to understand that I'm not from like a massive city. Like I'm not from a big place in Australia. I'm from, I say like a big place. Like Newcastle's kind of popping off at the moment.
Yeah, it is.
Like, there's a lot of stuff going on. But way back when, little town, like not a lot of people, but yet there was a go-kart track and I just used to send it all the time.
Thank God for those go-kart tracks.
Thank God for go-kart tracks.
Yeah. Well, and to make, like, when you think about it, you said you grew up, you started in New Lambton, but the thing is, you went out even smaller. You went out to Maitland.
I went to Maitland. Yeah, I went to Maitland when at 9.
Yeah.
Like, I moved house at 9, got a go-kart a couple of months later.
Yeah.
It was like a delayed birthday present.
So that first go-kart, tell us about it. So you said you bought it on eBay.
Oh, yeah.
Did you sit down with Dad and go, that's what I want, or was it or you just let the expertise down to Dad?
He knew. It was a CRG Piccolo. So they call it the Piccolo because it's tiny go-kart. Yeah. It's tiny. And so anyway, and you've got this, it's like this bright red motor. It's called a Coma. Interesting name.
Is that you just like, you see a bright red motor when you're 9, you're just like, this is going to go fast.
It was actually the slowest motor you could possibly buy.
Yeah. So then you go to the go-kart tracks. Like, when did you start to go, like, obviously you were talking about soccer where you're like, oh, this didn't really work. Tennis, yeah, liked it, but didn't really work. Basketball just never worked.
No.
How many meetings do you think it took
to kind of like reach the turning point of like, I want to do this for the rest of my life?
Yeah, when was that moment?
Like the first time.
Yeah.
I'm serious when I say this. Like, I literally got in the go-kart, cried my eyes out, went out and was like, holy crap, I'm in love. Like, it was love at first sight. Like, as far as like sporting goes.
So what is it like, I love motorsport as well. I just love the adrenaline rush of going fast. Is that mate, the same
honestly,
for you?
Like, you speak to any race car driver, we're all adrenaline junkies. We're all trying to do something dumb. Like, I don't know why, but like I see, and a good example of this is, Shane van Gisbergen. Like, he's just done a few rallies. Like,
yeah,
that's mental.
You put him in anything.
On your off day, you're doing something that's arguably like more dangerous. So like, we're just constantly trying to do something. And, Lewis Hamilton got his skydiving license. Like, why would you want to jump out of a plane?
Like, let's just say hypothetically, you're now going into F3.
Yeah.
And when you do F3, say you get that Formula One, what is going to be the thing that you want to do? It's obviously Lewis Hamilton's a skydiver.
Yeah.
Everything like that. What's
my second hobby?
What's the next adrenaline rush?
I'm not sure it's an adrenaline rush, but I don't mind cooking actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have your own cooking show in Europe.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
Well, what would you cook? What's your specialty dish right now as a 17-year-old Christian Mansell?
Oh, I should have just said 2-minute noodles. That would have been really funny. No, I just like pasta dishes, wraps, like salads, like very rarely. And like I said, oh yeah, omelette, quite good, good in an omelette. It's just the folding, the omelette is the hard part.
Yeah,
But mate, they always split. Mate, they're really annoying. Because I got back super jet lagged from the UK to here. Cooked myself an omelette because that's like the go-to breakfast. I was so annoyed. Like I was just jet lagged and just so annoyed at myself. Like, because nothing was working. It got to the point where I had to bring mum over and just like, help me, please. I'm desperate.
Well, she'd be jet lagged too, wouldn't she? She came with you.
Yeah, but like mum's cooking. Yeah. You can't beat it. Same as like grandma's cooking. You can't top that.
Yeah, definitely. Let's now. We'll definitely come back to the cooking because I feel like that's something we need to talk about more. But when you were obviously go-karting and stuff like that, what was it like? Well, what was it like growing up with the family? What was life in the Mansell household?
Well, obviously in that time, Josh was still doing basketball, and we were both like big talking points in the family. It was just like, oh, how's Josh doing? How's Christian doing? Like, are they going all right? And like, I remember coming home from like races sometimes, and like sometimes me and Josh, like he would have a game on the same Sunday that I was racing.
Yeah.
And depending on where we finished, we would just like hierarchy ourselves. It's just like, oh yeah, I won today. Oh, so would I.
So there was always, so basically you can thank your brother for the competitiveness to help you where you
are now. He's so competitive. Honestly, if he was a race car driver, he would be like a world champion.
Yeah.
I guarantee you. His work ethic, I need a little bit of that because like the guy just doesn't give up. Like he's so competitive. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, and don't get me wrong, I am too, but like there's just levels.
He's just got another level.
Like he's 21 and I'm like turning 18 soon. So his maturity levels and his ability to kind of know where he stands is so much further than me. Yeah. So he just goes and just keeps going.
So, what did you do growing up? Was it going to the beach? Where'd you go on holidays? What was it?
Honestly, like really from the ages of 9 till about 12, it was just normal Aussie kid, like just going to Sydney, going to Melbourne, Brisbane, like the usual spots. And, you know, I loved that. That was cool. And I will forever remember the days of going there and feeling like this is like so cool. Like I love this place. And I still reckon even if I get to Formula One, even if you amount the massive amount of money that you get paid, which is crazy, by the way.
Yeah.
I still think I will live here when when all is said and done. Because I love this place. I actually want to live in Newcastle.
Come back to Newcastle.
I want to live in Newcastle when I'm said and done because...
So fingers crossed, we may eventually have a Formula One champion back home in
Newcastle. Potentially.
Well, that'd be the dream.
That would be cool.
I imagine, who was the... Like, growing up, there's been so many people from not only Newcastle who have gone on to do big things. It's but who were the heroes growing up?
Just like as a general whole?
Yeah, just general whole. They don't have to be from Newcastle, but like, was there anyone like who were the?
I personally think that as like for racing wise, I'm always a big Michael Schumacher fan. Yeah. Pretty hard to go past. Pretty hard to knock.
And especially for you growing up, that's when he was.
He was kind of he just came out of it, so it was just like Dad was like this guy like was the boy.
Yeah.
But the guy that actually got me interested in Formula One was Sebastian Vettel. Yeah. Because at that time, that was when I was growing up in like early 2010s. So that was the guy, the Red Bull dominance, all of that stuff. That was who I was watching, and that was who I loved. And you know what's even funnier?
What's that?
When I did a one-off race weekend in Hungary and Spa.
Yeah.
In Hungary, I walked straight past him, didn't even notice it was him.
Wow.
I was just so in zone, like I'm doing my job. And I was like, oh, yep, guy in an Aston Martin jacket. Hang on a minute. Long hair. What? and I look behind me. Yep, that was Seb.
That's
Complete missed opportunity.
That's a 4-time world champion.
That's a 4-time world champion. That guy knows how to drive a car better than I do.
Does that just show you like where you are, where you've like you feel so comfortable in that paddock where you're just like, I'm focused on my own thing?
Have you ever seen Inception? That movie, like the dream and a dream and a dream.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that warp moment. That was just like, whoa, okay, that's really cool.
So what's that like? Yeah, I assume not only Vettel you're probably running into.
Well, dude, like I'm really, really good friends and like with Esteban Ocon's performance coach, and George Russell's performance coach.
Wow.
Like they look after me. Like Esteban's coach is more like the food and health side.
Yep.
And George's coach is more the fitness side. He oversees that. Crazy. Like the guy from Newcastle, like normal dude is like talking to these guys on a regular basis, and
who are looking after a
potential Formula One world champion.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, when George won his race this year, I was like straight on the phone to him. Like it was the craziest experience.
Yeah. Is it like a moment where you just like you're in the moment of doing it, and you're like, what am I actually doing?
You're so in the moment, like. Because they're your friends. You don't think of them as George's trainer or Esteban's trainer. You just think of them as Tom and Leish. Like, that's who they are. Like they're just, you know, oh, that's Tom.
So let's work out how we get to how you are there now. When you were, so say you're in karts, and I know you had a go at Formula 4 in Australia.
I did, yeah.
Was it Phillip Island?
It was. Oh,
yeah.
I love that.
What was that?
I love that.
What was that first moment when you're stepping out of a kart to basically a car? What was that moment like as jumping into a Formula 4 car, and how old were you then?
I was actually 14. So you're actually supposed to be 15, but we got special dispensation from Motorsport Australia to race that as like a one-off because I was only doing it once. I was actually supposed to do it twice, but then I decided to put myself in the hospital for diabetes a weekend out from a race. We'll get to that on another bit.
That's another story.
That's another story. But I think going from nothing to then karting and not obviously being like scared to then go from karting to cars, way more calm. Like I felt super like really calm in a car. I don't know. It just kind of clicked.
Yeah.
I was happy driving a race car.
Yeah. You're like, this is what I want to do.
This is what I want to do. And when I like jumped into a Formula 4 car, I was like this is fast. Like this is like crazy. Like how do people push this? Like piece of just like carbon fiber with wheels. There's not much to
it, is there?
Mate, there's not much to a Formula 4 car. You got wheels, tiny wings, and like 200 horsepower, not even.
Yeah.
And mate, you're doing like 230, 40 at Phillip Island at 14.
Yeah.
And obviously, Mum, bless her, hates speed. So when I told her,
I don't. How does that even work?
Oh, it's so funny because like when I first like had a shakedown, I actually, no one knows this. I've never actually said this publicly before, but I tested a Formula 4 car when I was 13 and 9 months.
Yeah.
And I came home to Mum and was like, "Hey, Mum, guess how fast I went today?" Because like I was giving her updates of how fast I would go down the straight.
Yeah.
That was like my little thing to her. And I was like, "Oh, how fast did you go?" 180. I just wouldn't get anything back.
Yeah.
I just get left on red.
There's like people who, there's people who, like obviously no one's meant to go faster than 110 kilometres per hour in Australia. You're 13, 9 months going 180 down the straight at Phillip Island.
Oh, it gets so much worse.
Yeah, now you're only getting faster and faster. So from Formula 4 in Australia, you jet off to England. How does that all happen? When was it when you're like,
right,
okay, I want to have a real crack at this?
So the real kind of crack at motorsport started at 13.
Yeah.
When Dad sat me down for a conversation, and it's just like, right, we can do this as a hobby. That's fine. I'm happy to fund you all the way through your karting career. Like, we can just have fun.
Have fun.
Dad and son, like, just crack on. Go to club meetings. Just like chill out. It's a fun family thing. Or we can go head first, and we can see how far the rabbit hole goes.
Yeah, you
and
tell
a
13-year-old that, they're gonna go, yeah, let's
they're gonna
go.
go, hell yeah, I'm ready. Let's do that. Because like realistically, what an opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get that opportunity. And like,
that's a big sacrifice from your old man to do something like that.
Massive. And like, I'm fortunate in the fact that I'm able to like do that, and I'm able to be in a position via mum and dad from having their own like business to support me and back me. Because as I said before, motorsport is by no means a cheap sport. It is terrible. And horses and race cars, never do it.
No. And I can imagine as well, when something like an opportunity comes up like that, there's pressure on you to perform.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the biggest, like one of the sports where you got the most pressure on you all the time.
Like all the time. But I
you just try and stay calm. You just
you kind of mellow it out a little bit, because when you're also very young, so you don't fully grasp it.
Yeah.
So you're kind of there just for the...
You're starting to really understand.
You're starting to really understand. Yeah.
Now
I look back and I go, oh my God, you were so naive. Jeez.
Yeah.
Like, if only you just listened a little bit more. But I feel like everyone does that though.
Yeah.
Like, no matter who you are, like as a person in general, probably you, when you turned 18, were like, oh geez, I really wish I
look back at the 18-year-old Adam who had a full beard. This is only a little bit of stubble.
You had a beard.
Yeah, let's not talk about that too much, because we're here talking about you.
Mate, I feel like that'd suit you a little bit though.
Yeah, I know. I don't think so. It's ginger beard.
Maybe like a tash for November.
Yeah. So you've got your dad's like, you want to have a crack at this? You say yes. You go over to England. What's that moment where you jump on that plane? You're like, okay. This is real now.
It's so funny, because leading up to that, I was like so excited. Like, I was like, yep, this is cool. Moving to a new country, leaving all my friends behind. This is so sick. And then it wasn't. Because a couple days out, I'm like, leaving all my friends.
Yeah.
Like, why am I doing this?
So how old were you then?
I was 14.
14. So you're leaving all your friends.
Yeah.
It was exciting. And then you're just like, the realization of like,
to
holy
comprehend crap. You're literally flipping your life upside down at 14. I don't know how I did it. And I don't know how we all do it. Like, as race car drivers and professional young sports people as a whole. Like, are we just that oblivious that we're just like, oh yeah, that will be fine. Well, let's do that. Because I look back on it now and I'm like, that's a big decision to make at 14.
Yeah.
Like...
And to make it even bigger as well, it's like, you think about most people you're racing are from Europe, so they're not having to travel as far as you. Like, say it's someone from France and they want to race in England.
It's an hour away.
Yeah, but you have to pack up your life on the other side of the world.
Yep.
You're not
got to find a house, got to find a car,
you're not from a big city either.
No.
You're coming from a regional area in Maitland.
Yeah, and then you go and live in South London, and you're like, whoa, okay, this is a little bit intense. Because when I first moved over there, it was like, kind of, I'd been fortunate enough that karting had obviously, European karting, because I was able to go over there, like when I was a little younger, and I'd been in London before, but like, living there, I was like, whoa, yeah, this is different. Like, because I'm like, oh, local shop, radio. Where's Woolworths?
Yeah.
Like, you know.
No Woolworths over there.
Where's Priceline Pharmacy? Like, where do I get my stuff? And, you know, as a diabetic as well, when I moved over there as well, that was scary, because I was like, what, do they have the same stuff over there? Yeah. But fortunately, Australia and England are the cheapest places to live as a diabetic.
Yeah, nice. Well, that's positive. Let's talk about the diabetes.
The elephant in the room.
Yeah, so... Like, I know a little bit of the story from doing interviews with you from when you first started. But yeah, can you kind of tell us? Yeah, so was it at Phillip Island, or like
it was after
Phillip Island? So what happened? When did you you obviously noticed things were something was wrong?
Yeah, no, it was a pretty I'm pretty lighthearted. Like, I'm a pretty overall like kind of laughable, kind of funny dude, but it was bad. Like, it was not good. I lost 10 kilos out of a guy that didn't have 10 kilos to lose.
Yeah.
Like, I got down to 39.
39 kilos. So you would have just been bones.
Bones. Yeah. Like, there's a photo of me, like, and I was kind of playing it up a little bit because Mum was taking a photo. But I'm kind of like leant over on the bed, like on the hospital bed, and I'm just so gaunt. And obviously leading up to it, because Mum and it's so bad, because the period of time that I got diagnosed, was a period of time that my mum and dad went on break.
Yeah.
So they were like, we haven't had a break in so long. We haven't done anything in so long. So they were like, you know what? Bite the bullet. Let's go to Singapore.
Yeah.
Let's go have a holiday for a week. And, you know, in that period of time, my pancreas decided it would be a brilliant idea to just not work.
Wow.
So they would obviously FaceTime me, and obviously I'd, you know, talk back to them, and I'd be like, oh, I'm a little sick, but like, you know, I'm not too bad, but you know, I'll let you know when you get home. Like we'll look at it when we get home. But you know, every day I was getting more gaunt.
So did you feel like you were just run down?
So run down, dude. Yeah. Oh, it was ridiculous. Like,
and how quick was that? Like, how quick did it come on?
Right. So correct me if I'm wrong, Mum, but I think it was a 5-day.
Yeah, a week.
A week? Yeah, about a week.
You got pneumonia in the April.
Actually, yeah, I had pneumonia in the April. And then that's actually what they think brought it on, because it's an autoimmune disease. So it's usually triggered by something. So the doctors think like, oh, right, that might have just tipped your pancreas over the edge. But yeah, scary. But so it was a 5-day process to it starting to when I felt sick to when I got diagnosed. And in 5 days, I lost 10 kilos.
So that's just...
Yeah, actually, I was doing a simulator session and I just kept driving off the track because one of the things is your peripheral vision just starts to go.
Oh, wow.
Because your sugar gets your blood glucose gets so high that it just starts affecting like your eyes.
So you were on the simulator and you're like...
I'm running off the track.
Running off the track.
I can't see the white lines.
You're wondering what the hell's going on.
I just thought I was sick. I was just like, oh, dude, I'm just sick, man. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you know, let me just get a glass of water and we'll crack on. But it was so much more than that.
Yeah.
Like
so
5 days,
10
kilos.
So was it you just couldn't eat? You couldn't... Or you...
No, because you'd go with spurts of extreme hunger to extreme thirst. And the thirst stuck around. But the bad part is because I drank so much, I flushed myself out over the 5 days.
Yeah.
So I would drink 3 bottles of water, just like I drink like 3 liters a day consecutively, and I just continuously wash myself out. Like I would get up 3 times a night and just have to go to the bathroom.
So then it obviously got to a point where you're like, oh, like this you need to go to hospital type of thing.
So I vomited the morning of, and then obviously Mum and Dad got back the night, the previous night. I vomited that morning, and then they were like, nah, this isn't like... This has
gone on for too long.
This has gone on for too long. Like 5 days you've been taking like antihistamine and all that stuff, and like this is not good.
And you've lost so much weight.
You couldn't see it because it was winter. I was wearing tracksuit pants and a jumper.
Yeah.
You couldn't see it.
Wow.
So you could... I think, sorry to butt in, I think genuinely because of my nan, I'm still here.
Yeah.
Because our house, it's a really long like corridor to Mum's room, my room, and Nan's room. Like Nan sleeps next to me because she doesn't want to sleep in Mum and Dad's room because she's kind of like, oh, that's your room. Like I don't want to, you know, like she's very, very set in a way, very respectful. But she would hear me get up and go to the bathroom 3-4 times a night. And she's the only one that would notice. If she was sleeping down there, she wouldn't have noticed. And I just kept doing it. And he vomited. Oh, he's just sick, you know. But the fact that she was like, nah, he's been getting up like 4 times a night to go to the bathroom. Like, this isn't normal. Like, we need to get him in. So, and then I went into the hospital. So normal blood sugar levels, you're probably sitting like normal. Like, what have you had for breakfast?
Not much.
Not much.
Had an apple.
Had an apple.
That's all I've eaten today.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But you'd maybe be probably sitting around maybe like 7.0, like something like that. You're a pretty healthy dude. Like
I hope so.
Hope so. But like you're not overweight. Like you're not like you don't have any like previous health like stuff going on. Yeah. So like you'd probably be sitting around 7.0.
And what were you?
So you go into a coma at 35, right?
Wow, yeah.
It's 28.
Wow.
So it was not good.
So yeah, basically your nan was just like, oh, okay.
Your nan was like, my nan was like, yeah, we need to get this guy. We need to get him in. And when I got in,
so you could have almost gone into a coma if nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
That was a very real possibility. Which is...
And how old are you then?
I was 14.
Just 14.
Just 14. Oh, a little bit. Oh, it was like mid-year.
Yeah.
And so like pretty young.
Yeah.
But fortunate in the fact that I had already stuffed myself to the point of being sick of chocolate and lollies before in my life.
Yeah.
So I'm not missing too much.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
all right. But that whole process, obviously I thought in that moment, right, racing career, gone.
Yeah. Yeah, like I imagine, yeah, you'd be thinking.
Because
to
you're so
yourself,
tunnel vision.
How am I ever going to be able to?
Yeah,
get
if I
back in?
feel like this, how am I supposed to drive a race car at its maximum capacity?
Yeah.
Like you're thinking to yourself, no, it's just impossible. Like you can't. But then it turns out there's a very, very like small community of type 1 diabetic race car drivers.
Well, Jack Perkins is one.
Jack Perkins, fortunately, is one. An Aussie as well, which is
Yeah.
fortunate. There's another IndyCar driver who is in... Sorry, actually, there's two. It's Connor Daly, I think, and ex-driver, Charlie Kimball. I spoke to Charlie Kimball, and he's like, yeah, man, you're fine. Like, just you'll be fine. And I was like, you seem very relaxed about this whole situation.
You've just gone through the wall.
Like, I've just gone through the walls. You seem very relaxed about the
How are
situation.
you meant
Like,
to tell me that I can just get back to what I'm doing?
like how are you meant? Yeah, how are you meant to say like, dude, like, relax, you'll be fine. But actually, he was completely correct.
Yeah.
So what I have is I have a Dexcom, like, which is a glucose monitor that sits like like a little hair and it like sits underneath my skin and it monitors my glucose.
Right.
So it's off my phone, and we actually, it's quite cool, but we have a 3D printed mount that my phone is like strapped to the side of the race car. So, because it needs Bluetooth.
Yeah.
So then I can share it to my trainer and my mum and my dad so they can see it while I'm driving.
So you're
And the lead up to getting in the car. So I can constantly see it the whole time.
So did you say you strap your phone
Yeah.
into your race car?
My
just so-
phone is in my race car. I can get out if I crash and I can start an Instagram live if I really feel like it.
Holy. So yeah.
That would be so bad. But
We've also got to remember. I know weight is an important thing in a race car, so
Yeah.
they have to try it. So, like, say,
No, it's literally- it's
this
made
is
of-
how much your phone weighs.
it's made of carbon fiber and I can't have a case.
So you can't have a yeah.
No, I can't have a case. So
So-
it gets absolutely battered.
So wow. So you need that phone. You need that phone there to send the information out. Well, pretty much you need
Yeah.
that there, don't you? So
And I because it's on my stomach and I do it on my stomach, I have to do my seats differently because we have molded seats. So my seat is literally molded to me. No one else can fit in that. Like, doesn't matter if you look like me, if you're as tall as me, if you're as wide as me, you will not fit.
you need every single thing the same.
Every
as you.
single inch of my body is molded into a seat, perfect to me.
So let's sidetrack for a little bit. The seat. How long does it take for them to make a seat, and how do you make that seat?
Right.
Like, do you have to sit in like
it's a day.
in a mold?
Yeah, it's a day. It's a day's worth of work.
Wow.
So what happens is it's a chemical reaction
Yeah.
that makes foam essentially, and we have to sit. It gets so hot as well. Like I'm glad the first time I did it, it was for Carlin, who's a British team, so it's nice and cold.
Yep.
So it actually warmed me up really, really nice. But like, so you sit in the mold, and it feels so weird because at first it's like squishy and like mushy and terrible, but then as it kind of comes up around you, you end up actually getting trapped. Like, because it obviously comes over your legs and around your shoulders, they cut it away afterwards. You kind of have to like twist to get out of it. I've seen some drivers, like usually little drivers and people that aren't that big, they get stuck in there. They got to
So
cut
like
it
a
out
Yuki
while
Tsunoda
they...
would get stuck.
He would have a rough time because obviously when they do the seat fit, there's no halo above you, so you can't pull yourself out.
Yeah.
So they take it off for that. So they use a spare tub or cockpit, and you can't like pull yourself out. So yeah, no, it's a little bit troublesome, but they're actually so comfy though.
Yeah, well,
They're
I guess it's made
outrageously
for you, isn't it?
It's made for you.
Yeah.
We all fall asleep in between like runs in the session. Like,
So relaxing, everything's perfect.
like you ever sit on that one couch that you had at your home that's been there for like years and years, and it's like embedded
Yeah.
and it's so soft and you can just fall asleep?
That was my pop's recliner.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I have this couch at home, like over in the UK, and it was built over here. Like we brought it over.
Yeah.
I can fall asleep on that like so easily because it's just I know it. But like that's kind of like what a race seat's like. Like they're not soft, but like they're really really comfortable just because they're molded around you.
Yeah.
So you just fall asleep.
Wow. So now let's go back. Let's go back to the diabetes. So when like you obviously get out and now you're over in England. You know you got diabetes now. I assume you spoke to people like Jack Perkins and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What was
Still in good contact by the way with Jack
what's
Perkins,
that? What's
actually.
that like having someone like obviously Jack Perkins? He's raced in supercars and he's like he's wants to look after you and help your career.
It's another thing like with George and Esteban's trainer. Yeah. Like it just like once they're kind of you talk to them, they're normal blokes.
The actual normal
they're
people.
Just like
they?
they're just like you and me. Like, they're normal blokes. They're just doing a job.
Yeah.
But like, it's also kind of crazy when you're like, oh god, I'm actually like Jack Perkins, V8 supercar driver. Like I watched this guy when I was a kid.
I find that as well. Like someone like me who's sport mad and in the job I've got, and I meet people that I grew up watching and idolize, and then I'm like, oh my god, these people are actually just normal human beings.
Oh, it's funny because I've got some like you get some funny stories when you're on like the F1 grid, like around the F1 drivers, because they're very very picky.
Yeah.
So when I was in Spa, my motorhome was here, Lewis Hamilton's was here, so I was neighbouring Lewis the Spa weekend.
So you have a motorhome next to Lewis Hamilton's motorhome.
Yeah. Wow, you can't even call it a motorhome. It's a house on wheels, dude. It's 2 million euros. Wow.
Did you ever think about it? You're a boy from Maitland.
Yeah.
And you got a motorhome.
Who's sitting next to a seven-time world champion.
Did you see Roscoe?
I did.
Yeah?
I did. He was there. But the funniest part is another thing at the Silverstone Grand Prix.
Yeah.
So I don't know what year it was, but Bottas actually fed Roscoe a chicken liver pate.
Yeah.
And he just shit all through Lewis's motorhome.
Oh, no.
It was the funniest thing ever. Like, this is the stuff that you don't, like, this is the stuff that the public don't get, because obviously when you're in that...
That's not on Drive to Survive, is it?
That's not on Drive to Survive. That's not on anything. That's just banter between F1 drivers. Like, they're normal blokes too.
Yeah.
But, like, obviously Roscoe is vegan, same as Lewis.
Yeah.
So he's never eaten meat in his entire bloody life.
He's had something different, and it's just gone
straight through him. Poor dog. Do you know, Roscoe is the only dog to walk through the F1 paddock.
Yeah, right. I can imagine
to get
that
clearance to walk through the F1 paddock.
I suppose you need to be a 7-time world champion to get that
I
clearance.
do not want to know the amount of money he had to spend to get him into the paddock, because dogs are forbidden from race circuits.
Yeah.
Like, it is like a hard pass.
Yeah.
Even in go-kart tracks are forbidden. Like, if you bring a dog to a race car track, they stay in your camper van. But here's Lewis and Roscoe pacing across the pits, and you're like, bro, that's crazy.
So now, let's go back to British Formula 4.
Oh, yep.
I actually remember probably one of the first races you had where the back wing
oh my
came
god
off.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
Obviously I work for NBN News, and that would probably be, I don't know why, but our file vision
always showed up.
Our editors would always put that shot of you driving with no back wing, and I was like, okay, I think we've used that enough.
I know.
So
the funniest part so that move, I actually did a move around the outside downhill with no rear wing.
That's difficult at the best of times, I would imagine.
So you have half your downforce lost, essentially. And look, there's not much downforce in a Formula 4 car anyway, so you need all you can bloody get. Yeah. So when that was gone, I had so much more top speed. I was just driving around like kids. So it was like, and the worst part is I could have kept going, but the crash box, the safety structure at the back had come off along with the rear wing. Yep. So if the rear wing itself fell off, I could actually keep going. But because the crash structure, if someone was to hit me in behind, it would just go through the gearbox and potentially into my back. So obviously that's not a great predicament to be in. So obviously the FIA and the stewards were like, nah, pack it in. But for the laps that they didn't notice,
you were flying.
I was flying. Like in the speed traps, I was like 20 kilometers an hour quicker than some kids. So anyway, I'm behind Abby Pulling, which is the Renault like girl. She
Yeah.
Alpine actually. She's W Series driver as well. So
Yeah, right.
we're still decent friends. Like I see her sometimes in the F1 races when she's doing her thing. But yeah, it's funny because when you're in F4 and you see like the people who you've raced and they've come a long way, and obviously
Well, so have you, I guess.
you count yourself out because it's kind of like you don't want to.
You're kind of going along, and then you think I assume you're just looking around and going, "Wow,
Like-
look at where we started."
Like one of my closest mates is Sebastian Montoya, who's obviously Juan Pablo Montoya's son. He's a
Yeah.
Red Bull Junior, but like I just chat with him like he's my mate. Like I don't like he's not like obviously he is who he is, and I'm very proud of him. But like, you know, when you look back, you're like, oh damn, like his dad scared Michael Schumacher.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. And I actually speak to Juan Pablo sometimes. Like he's a great dude.
Yeah.
He's an awesome dude. If you want an answer that's straightforward, you go to him.
He'll just tell you.
Because it was really funny. I remember in Barcelona, we were in Barcelona one day, and it was me, Sebastian, and Juan Pablo. And Sebastian was like having trouble with the car setup. Anyway, Juan Pablo is just like, yeah, they need to change the front. And I was like, oh, right. Okay.
He hasn't even jumped in the car.
Hasn't even driven the car. Never driven the car. Yeah, they need to change the front. And I was just like, oh, how do you know? Well, because you see it on turn in, and like when the car picks up and I was just like, wow, okay, right, okay, this is crazy.
So I guess seeing what he's doing and the way he's.
Oh, dude.
How do you learn that stuff? How do you?
I'm more concerned about the engineer because, like, poor him.
Yeah, as the
Poor
engineer got a
him.
job.
Poor him. I feel for him because obviously, like, he's got the answers. He knows. But like at the same time, it's kind of like, oh, miss, like, you know, you've never driven the car, sir. Like, you know, like, can I just like do my job a little bit? But like, I mean, he's kind of got a point.
Yeah.
Like you and like sometimes you have to bite the bullet and be like, maybe I should change the front. And I think they did, and he went faster. So he's just like, I told you. So,
Wow.
but like, he's a nice guy as well. Like, he's a really nice guy.
It's honestly like, yeah, you must be pinching yourself all the time. Like you were saying,
It's really funny because
you've got Hamilton's motorhome beside you. You walk past a 4-time world champion. You've got Montoya.
Yeah.
You're friends with his son.
Yeah, and he's in my corner as well. He gets on with my dad really well. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, wow.
And like I remember because when you're in karting as well, like it was me, like Mansell and Montoya. We used to get so much attention.
Now, yeah, okay. Let's talk about the last name
Yeah.
because I know over all the races I've watched of you, because every time someone just goes,
Someone in the
he
live feed.
is he related to Nigel Mansell? Can you clear that up?
No.
You're not related to Nigel Mansell.
I
you're
wish.
You're a boy from Maitland. Have you had a chance to talk to
No,
Nigel Mansell? Have you ran into him at all?
His son actually. I've chatted to his son.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think his name's Scott. And because obviously in British F4 he saw Mansell and was like, hang on a minute, what?
Yeah.
So like, we got talking. Really nice guy. But yeah, as a kid, I was an ass for it. These French reporters came up to me one day. It was me and Sebastian Montoya, and they were like, Mansell, and I was like, yeah, granddad. I was like 13, and I was like, yeah, granddad. Oh, is he here? Nah, he's busy.
he's busy.
He's playing golf.
Back in Maitland.
Back in Maitland.
Nigel Mansell's just back in Maitland.
Nigel Mansell's back in Maitland. He's just down at the local one singing a few tinnies. Can you imagine that? That'd be so sick.
Oh, you know what? I hope one day, and I'm sure it will happen one day,
Dude.
you will run into Nigel Mansell.
I just need to get
That'll be a photo.
I need to get a way bushier mustache if I need to run into Nigel Mansell. But like, you hear stories of what he was capable of doing, and he like engineers reckon he's the perfect like driver for an engineer.
Yeah.
If you tell him to go flat around a hairpin, he'll try it.
It's nuts.
Like back in the day at Silverstone, I don't know if you know the corners off by heart, but actually it was
Probably
the corner
not as
that,
well as you do.
it was a corner that Max and Lewis had their shunt.
Yeah.
So that fast right.
Is that cops?
Yeah, it's cops. Yeah.
Yeah.
So back in the day, that was obviously that's a fast corner.
Yeah.
And they're in these cars that are pretty much just tin cans with 1,000 horsepower strapped to them. So it was a lift with respect.
Yeah, in a lift, yeah.
Like, you've got a lift. But Anyway, the engineers got to like a point where like, oh, the wind's kind of in a good direction today. Like, oh, like it's quite cold as well. Well, like track temperature when it's colder, much better.
Yeah.
Way, way better for tires. So it's more grippy. So like, oh, track's kind of cold. You know, hey, Nigel, can you just go flat around cops? First lap out, just goes flat. Has a moment at 190 mile an hour. He's like facing this way. Barrier's that way. He's full opposite lock that way. Kept it pinned the whole time.
The balls.
Oh, dude. The balls on that man.
How do you like say an engineer goes, okay, you can go faster in this particular point, and you're just like,
I like that though.
But like, is there ever a time where they're like, you can go fast, and you're just like, I don't know.
No, there is. No, there is, because like obviously they've got so much data from previous years. They're like, oh, what's his name did it flat? Try it, and you're like, there's a tailwind, buddy. Like this is gonna be pretty hard, but like you go out and do it, and you have a massive moment, and you're like, but it's not flat.
Not gonna work today.
And it's like, oh, really? Like, are you sure? And it's like, dude, once you watch because we've got onboard cameras, not in F3, but previous cars, we've got onboard cameras. It's like, dude, once you watch it back, and it looks so sketchy, it's slower going flat because of how sketchy it is.
Yeah. Wow. So okay, now let's go. So British Formula 4, and then what did you go to then?
British Formula 3.
British Formula 3, and then
Great car.
Then was it GP3?
No, it was Euro Formula.
Euro Formula.
Yep.
And then
now FIA F3.
And now FIA F3. So
which to this day, I still think the Euro Formula car that I drove this year is the best car I've ever driven in my entire life.
I was going to say, you look like you were just you were one with that car.
I love that car. Everyone loves that car.
Yeah.
It's so light, loads of aero. When I say aero, like I mean aerodynamics. So that car at its maximum speed has a ton. Not like when I say, it's got a ton of downforce. It has a literal 1,000 kilos of downforce.
That's similar to an F1 car, wouldn't it be? Yeah, like
F1 car's got 2.5.
Yeah, 2.5. Oh yeah.
A lot. Previous years, like the previous spec. I don't actually know how much the ground effect cars have, but the previous like F1 cars had 2.5 tons.
That's crazy.
But like my minimum speed around one of the corners on a qualifying lap around Pouon at Spa, so it's like a quick downhill left. Yeah. It is fast.
Yeah.
217 kilometers an hour.
That's crazy.
You just chuck it in and it holds.
That's ridiculous. Now, so like let's go like the stats like from last season. You had 3 wins, 15 podiums.
Yeah.
Like you're like consistently on that podium. Like,
it was a really good championship battle until I decided to go upside down.
Yeah,
it was really looking like not too bad, and then just the streak of bad luck was just not it.
You got a lot of bad luck, especially that rollover. What was
I know how people say you make your own luck, but like that was like it was bad.
Yeah,
there was just a streak of bad luck.
What was that moment like? Where was that your biggest crash? You feel?
By
it would have to
far. Be. Like that. Like everyone, I hate the people that's just like, oh yeah, it wasn't too bad. I'm still here. Like, shut up.
Yeah,
it's scary.
It scares you. Yeah.
I went up and over at 150.
I was sitting there watching it live.
You watched
YouTube.
it live?
Yeah, I was sitting up there watching it live.
Oh, you poor soul.
Yeah, and because I was like, okay, I'm going to have to report on this tomorrow. And I was like watching the race, and I was like, oh, here we go. And then I just saw it, and I was like, I couldn't believe what had happened. I can't imagine what it was like in the cockpit.
Oh, bless my mother. Oh, she was so... do you know what? My first radio message after I shunted was, tell Mum I'm okay.
Yeah.
That's genuine as well. Like, I'm not just playing this up for this.
She's terrified of you just going fast down the straight.
Yeah, like, the poor girl is terrified of speed in general. Like, I actually took her for a hot lap one day in just like a Renault Clio, like a little tiny car, and got to turn right. No, Christian, please, like, turn around, like, please, like, I can't do this. So she's petrified, but she will always forever support me, but she's petrified.
Yeah.
So when I went up and over, my first initial thought was, I'll tell Mum I'm okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and bless my grandparents, they flew over all the way from Australia to see me race. They'd already watched me race in Austria. Next round was Monza, where I had the rollover. So they, of all times for them to come over, they came over when I had my biggest accident of my entire life.
Wow.
I'd gone through karting without going over, Formula 4 without going over, British F3 without going over. The one time that they show up, I have the biggest shun of my life, and probably the biggest one for a lot of people.
I would say that's probably that was easily the biggest crash of Euro Formula last year for sure.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is I'm really glad I did Euro Formula. Because there's a lot of other, junior feeder series. But, Euro Formula, I think, is the best stepping stone. Because everyone does Formula Regional nowadays, and the car's just not it. The car just is... And I don't mean this in a bad way. I don't want to disrespect anyone in Formula Regional, the staff there, anyone who works on the cars, because everyone works hard. Everyone...
It's just that type of a car that you feel
just,
like...
I didn't really like driving it. And I got out of the car just questioning...
So did you think, was it you had to weigh up the options?
Yeah, that was the option. It was Euro Formula or Formula Regional, both with really, really good teams. The offers were really, really strong, and I have to thank my management for that. They're outstanding. They really, really help.
Because there's a few drivers in Formula 1 now raced in Euro Formula Open, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that it shows
it used to be the old official FIA F3.
Yeah, okay.
It used to be the old one, and then they brought in these new cars.
So do you think racing in Euro Formula Open last year and a little bit the year before will help you now going into Formula 3?
Absolutely. If you actually look back, this is what, just plucking a name out of the air, this is what Esteban Ocon did.
Yeah.
He went from this to FIA F3 to F1. I'm not saying that I'm going to go from F3 to F1 because it's a different time period. There's an F2 now that's a genuinely good F2.
Yeah.
Not to saying that back in the day GP2 wasn't good. It was an unreal car, one of the greatest cars ever. But that's just he thought he was ready. He got through. He got a deal signed with Manor.
You take it.
If you're gonna go to F1, you're gonna go to F1.
Yeah, 100%.
So this is the trajectory that I'm on. And honestly, dude, I said this in the Newcastle Herald this morning. He was like, so what would you do if you got into Formula 1? I literally said, no word of a lie, I'd crack a tinny and sit back. Because
you'd be able to
the amount of stress, the amount of work that you have to do, the amount of pressure that you're under, and for all junior athletes as well. I speak on behalf of every single junior athlete, no matter if you play soccer, no matter if you play football, no matter if you're a race car driver, we are all under so much pressure because we've packed up our lives for this. So to achieve that, and when you get there, you don't even know what to do.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh God, where do I go from here? But because I've spoke to people that have gotten into Formula 1, and which, by the way, is crazy.
Yeah.
So we actually look after Logan Sargent, who's just gone into Formula 1.
Wow.
He's under the same management as I am. Mate, bewildered.
That must be nice though to have
dude,
people like that,
mega,
have a network.
mega.
You have a network that knows how to do it, and you've just got I assume you just follow their instructions.
A prime example is this year, because obviously Formula Regional, it has more cars, but the level of it, there's only kind of 10 that are really, really good that I respect.
Yeah.
The other 20 are kind of meh.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that to put anyone down, but it's just the facts.
Yeah.
So in my head, you're obviously going to be attracted to the one that gets more press, more media, gets more drivers, and you're like, oh, that's where all the other drivers are going. Why aren't we doing that?
Yeah.
But I look back at what I've done this year and what I've learnt and what I could have learnt doing Formula Regional. My trust for them has just gone through the roof.
Yeah.
Because evidently I had to trust them and be like, this is the right thing for you to do. Do this series. Trust me. It'll work out. Yeah. You'll get a good F3 seat, which I have.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So I know that the time's probably running, and we've been talking for a very long time. We'll make it as quick as we can. So you're now going into F3.
Yeah.
You've signed with Campos Racing.
Yep.
How are you? What's going through your mind?
Dude, I've been excited since last year.
Yeah.
So I go back to them 2-3 days after I land, and the work has already started. Realistically, the work already started ages ago.
As soon as you sign, type of thing.
As soon as I signed, yeah. And that was actually a little while ago. But huge.
Yeah.
It's funny because every single driver knows like where they're
So
going.
I assume everyone in the paddock knows who's going where, who's doing what.
Pretty much,
for-
but
for
like to
people
the
like
outside
me
media.
and the listeners who will be on listening to this, they would have no idea.
So I got announced, I think it was on the 28th or something
Yeah.
of December
Was it
or
November?
November.
Must have been
Yeah,
November.
no, it was November. I knew I was signed like a month before that.
Yeah.
And to the people watching that, it's like, oh, he went with Campos. No way. So, but to everyone else, he's like, yeah, okay, right, he's going with Campos. Saw that coming. And then it's kind of funny because you get all like the DMs on Instagram. It's like, oh, I never thought you'd sign with Campos. I thought you were going there, or I thought you were going there. And it's just like,
It's actually not that. It's actually
like-
nothing like that
it's
behind
like-
the scenes.
I was like, what do you mean? Like, I was always going to go there. But they don't know that. And like,
Yeah.
you don't know that.
Yeah.
And because obviously for news crews and stuff like that, to do press releases on, you have to tell them where you're going.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, no way. But I was like, I've known this for a month.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine.
And so Campos is in Spain.
They're Spanish.
So how's your Spanish? You're learning.
See. That's it. Actually, no, I have a Spanish teammate who also happens to be my best friend in racing as well. His name's Pepe Marti.
Yeah, right.
Solid guy. So good. Family's solid. He's solid as a guy. If we were ever to get into a bingle on track, we've already said that we need to sort it out because this friendship is not worth losing over a bingle.
I was going to say I can imagine there's been a lot of, well, you've only got to look
Rosberg and Hamilton.
Yeah, you've got to look at that. So there's all that type of stuff that goes on track. And now let's talk about the big thing, I imagine. Your first round's in Bahrain, but
It's going to be hot.
it's going to be very hot. You've got to learn the car during testing and stuff. So you're going Barcelona and Silverstone, did you say, for testing?
Yeah.
And then Bahrain for the first round. Mm-hmm. Melbourne. You have
The big one.
you've picked the perfect year to be born and to go into Formula 3.
Dude, I forget Bahrain existed
Yeah,
for a
you're
little bit.
too busy
I was
thinking
so
of
busy
Melbourne.
thinking about Melbourne because I've obviously got loads of media stuff going on in Melbourne because I'm Australian.
Yeah.
And like, I forgot Bahrain even existed because I was like, yeah, I'm really looking forward to Melbourne. Oh, what about Bahrain? Yeah, what about Bahrain?
Oh, yeah, I'm racing there too.
Yeah, right. Okay, there is Bahrain before Melbourne because even when I wasn't signed to an F3 team and I saw that get announced, it got announced when I was at Spa in F3.
Yeah.
I saw that and I was like, no way. Because I didn't know about it.
Oh, yeah.
No one knew about
It really
it.
came out of the blue, didn't it?
I spoke to team managers and they were like, we didn't know.
Yeah.
No one actually knew. But the good thing is, though, because obviously you'd think now for teams to go to Australia is going to be so expensive. The FIA are actually covering the costs.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So it's basically free shipping.
So that
You can
that
Amazon
probably-
Prime your F3 car to Australia. It's free shipping.
That's awesome. So yeah, and I know that we've spoken about it before. It's like when you've got announced Campos, obviously you knew Campos,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
then you see the Australian Grand Prix social media accounts
Yeah,
pumping
they
you up.
reposted me.
Yeah, they're pumping you up, going,
Yeah.
"This is our Formula 3 driver."
Yeah.
That
I didn't know they were doing that.
What's that like? I imagine now you're in Formula 3, everything just goes to another level. Like you are now, you're now on the Formula 1. You're in the Formula 1 like scene.
I'm on the circus, buddy.
Yeah,
I'm a part of the circus.
So and yeah, racing at home in Melbourne. Well, home. It's in Melbourne.
I
Yeah.
still
You-
anywhere
how
in
about
Australia.
we race Newcastle 500 in March? And you can-
Buddy, I'll actually be there. I'll
Oh,
be
will
there.
you?
I'll
Yeah,
be there.
nice.
Yeah. Are you going to be reporting?
I will be there. Yes. Well, see, we need to get you. We need to get you to do a hot lap.
Dude, I desperately, please,
That'd be unreal.
desperately. I would so love to go around and
Let's
do that.
make that happen. Let's make
Someone, if you're watching this, if you're on the Newcastle Grand Prix board, make it happen, please.
make it happen. So Melbourne, and so that's going to be amazing. You're going to have family and friends there. You're going to have the Aussies cheering for you in Formula
Dude,
3.
I've already gotten DMs of like guys
Just
and
random
girls.
punters, yeah.
Yeah, random punters. It's just like, yeah, I'm going to have a sign up for you in turn 1 and I'm going to be in turn 10. Like, you know,
You're going to have to try and focus on the road.
on the
don't
driving.
racing.
But like, the funniest thing is right, I don't really like I don't comprehend having people like fans behind you. But like, I say this with absolute humility and being humble. Like, I do. And it's mental.
Yeah.
Like, people actually back you for your given sport. They don't know who you are. They don't know where you live. They don't know where you went to school. They know nothing about you apart from the fact that you are in a sport that they love. You're a part of their country. You're representing them. I'm going to support you.
Does that bring more pressure, do you think?
No, I'm pretty decent with that, actually, because I don't really
Well, I suppose you've had
worry
to,
about it too
you've
much.
had to deal with the pressure all this time. A
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit more might be.
But like, and I mean this with the utmost respect, I've got bigger stuff to fry.
Yeah.
But like, I don't mean that in the fact that I don't care about them. I just mean that in the fact that like I appreciate it and I love them for it. But like, I always sit down and have a conversation with people that come up to me and like fans that come up to me. Like I've had, and it's so good when they're a kid as well. Like it's the cutest thing in the world.
Because that could have technically have
Because
been you.
that kid,
That was you.
yeah, that kid could have been me. And can you imagine if I got someone started in the sport that I love because of me?
Yeah.
Like that would make me feel so good. And it has, and I've seen it. Like there was this
And you're only 17.
oh dude, yeah. Like to be so influential at this age and to be on the world stage and like talk to so many people and be watched by so many eyes and you know doing this and you know doing F3 and all the other media stuff that I do. Like it's mental. I actually had another Type 1 family reach out to me, the mother. Her kid is doing karting, and she DM'd me as like, how do you make it work?
Yeah.
So I responded back, make sure like, because he wore his Dexcom on his arm, but he was complaining that, you know, it kind of rubs on the seat and on the engine, on the
So
radiator.
they're asking little intricacies and stuff
Yeah,
like
that no one else would know because you don't really go to a doctor because they don't know. So, you know, with stuff like that, I will always try my best to help. And I was like, well, I actually wear mine on my stomach, so it gets it out of the way. And I did that through karting as well. And they were like, why? It's so simple, but like, oh.
You just need that one. Well, I suppose you've had moments like that too where people
absolutely.
have told you stuff.
Because originally, I say supposed to, but in the hospital, they're like, oh, yeah, just put it on your arm. But I actually prefer it on my stomach.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why, but it's just weird for me.
Annoying. Yeah.
Like, not annoying, but I don't know. I've just never come to the concept of on your arm. Like, I don't know. It's just weird for me.
Yeah. And not only Melbourne is coming to the grid, but you're going to race at Monaco. You're going to race at Monaco. Could like there's people who've always wanted to get into Formula One. They're always like, the only way I'm going to be racing at Monaco basically is I need to be in a Formula One car.
Mate, dude, I know people that were cutting an arm off to do that.
And now you are going to be in a Formula 3 car driving around
Not
Monaco.
just a little something that you mess around with on the weekends.
A powerful machine. And what's I imagine that's just as big as Melbourne, I would imagine, just because of its history.
I personally think that for me, the Monaco weekend will be a turning point in just my career in general because it's going to feel real.
Yeah.
Like after Melbourne,
That's a proper circus when you're at Monaco.
Yeah, man. Like, because you do Bahrain, right? And you're like, right, I'm in this. You do Melbourne and you're like, wow, what an experience.
Yeah.
Because you're backed by so many people. It's going to be such a cool weekend, such a cool track. Like, the track is sick. Yeah. It's such a cool place. And, you know, Melbourne as a whole is one of Australia's great landmarks. Like, it's crazy. But then you go to Monaco, which is a worldwide landmark. And you realize that you're a part of something much, much bigger than you first thought. And you're like, okay, this is legit.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
This is where all the big spenders live. This is where all the F1 drivers live.
It's where you could potentially live.
It's where I could potentially live, you know.
Well, is that the goal? Like, would that be the goal? Like, you're like,
I like the UK, actually.
oh, the UK? Yeah.
I like the UK. It's a nice homey feel. Like,
I suppose, yeah, you've lived there a few years now. It probably feels more like home now, doesn't it?
It's very similar to Australia, actually, apart from the obvious weather. But, like, it's very similar to Australia in the fact that everyone's quite nice. Everyone's quite down to earth. Everyone has great humour. And apart from the beaches and the sun, it's pretty similar.
Yeah.
Obviously, we drive on the same side of the road, which is quite helpful. But, you know, overall, I don't know, like, if I would, like, obviously the race teams sometimes are like, yeah, live in Monaco. But the only reason why I would live in Monaco is for tax reasons and stuff like that.
That's always seems like that's what all the drivers do, don't they?
Because I won't say who, but one of the drivers has an ice cream shop in Monaco. and that's kind of where they funnel all their
the
stuff.
inside note.
Because it's not illegal. It's just
Yeah.
smarter than everyone else.
It's just a smart thing to do. I feel like I should probably get out of here, let you go and
No,
and
dude,
enjoy yourself.
I've really, really enjoyed this. This has been a lot of fun.
Final question. Just
Hit me.
a boy from Maitland.
Yeah.
You're now in Formula 3. What's the goals for this season and beyond?
So I have a car on the day, Campos, I think are a strong mid to front. So we definitely won't be hanging around in the back.
Yeah.
And if I do, hit me. But I think on the day, we could potentially be a top 5 car. But overall, I think top 12 is where I want to personally be. Only because when you're in the top 12, you're able to get on reverse grid pole. So the top 12 are reversed for race 1. So if you qualify 12th, you will start pole for race 1.
So the goal for you is every
To
race
be
top
in
12.
that top 12, because then you get your name out there, then
You
people
not
know who
only
you
share,
are.
yeah.
And then when the top teams start to notice you, they're like, hang on, this kid's actually quite handy.
Yeah.
You know, although he qualifies 12th because of the car or because of me, because I don't want to ever... I don't want to ever be the guy who's like, it's the car, I'm so much better. Like, bloody, like, why?
You just need to show the car's potential.
You just need to show the car's potential. If you're too worried about, like, just moaning about the car, then you'll never get anywhere, because you're always going to be like, it's the car's fault, who cares?
Yeah.
But if you try and make that car better, you can only imagine, like, if you just apply yourself at 100%, like, can you imagine the achievements that you could get, the things that you could do, the things that you could accomplish? So I will be first to admit, like, hey man, like, turn 3 wasn't that crash hot.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry about that. Like, we lost about half a tenth there. Like, I'm sorry, buddy. And then you come back in and it's like, yeah, no problem, we'll fix it for next time. But if you're like, the car felt terrible in turn 3, like, blah, 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 like, and then they're like, well, no, that was your fault. Then it kind of just gets worse. And you don't go anywhere. So back to the, like, original statement, like, I would love to be in a top 5 position by the end of the year. And if I win a race, by help me God, I am signing it right here. I will do a shoey. I will
I
do
think
a
it's a
shoey.
prerequisite now, isn't it? If an Australian wins.
I don't care the fact that Daniel's not in F1 anymore. Like, I will do a shoey. I don't care how stinky that boot is. I don't care how, like, sweaty that is. I just hope it's not Bahrain. It's too hot.
Yeah.
But if I do win, which, you know, I'm not saying it's unlikely.
It's like a reverse grid though. You start on pole, there's a chance.
There's always a chance in motorsport.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. There's always a chance. It's so unpredictable. It's a joke.
So you are just planning, just do the best you can.
Do the best that you can, and whatever comes to you, just take it by the absolute gazoolies, because that's all you can do essentially. But yes, I am signing it here. I will do a shoey if I win.
Well, I think that's where we should end.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you,
mate.
buddy.
Thank you so much.
As always, a pleasure. And if I'm back in the country anywhere really, and you want me to hop on this again, I will absolutely do it.
Beauty.
No doubt in my mind.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.